Thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Lim Nakrin. So we do have a first alert weather day today because there's going to be some wet weather. And of course, this is one of the busiest travel days of the year as, of course, people are, on their way, whether it's by roads or by air to see their family, their loved ones for the Thanksgiving holiday. And that's why we actually have our meteorologists, Ella Dorsey and Courtney Jacobazi, joining us momentarily with a look at the forecast. I want to show you just the radar here so you can see this kind of storm system that is moving along the coast. This heavy rain and the storms are expected to impact the holiday travel for sure. But when it comes to holiday travel, well, already there are at least 73 delays that have been reported at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, and no cancellations as of just yet, but we're going to keep, following the latest there out of the airport just to make sure that, we can pass along any new information. But airport officials do estimate that 3.6 million people will pass through Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, the world's busiest airport, during this Thanksgiving holiday period. TSA screening around 1.1 million passengers. And of course, this storm system, let me show you that on our radar again, is expected to have an impact. It is anticipated to bring many more cancellations and delays as well. And of course, the roads very, very slick. Well, when the rain comes down, the stopping time can quadruple actually. So, this could certainly create many hazards out on the roadways. I want to point you, in fact, to one of our stories on AtlantaNewsFirst.com of an overturned tractor trailer that blocked 316 westbound for a period of time this morning, and we're working to see kind of the situation on that and get any updates on the traffic impacts. But this is at Hurricane Trail in Gwinnett County. And this did damage the trailer, cause a load to spill onto the roadway. Drivers can use hurricane shoals to get around this if it is impacting your route today. But as we continue talking about, the conditions on the roads and in the air for travel, my colleague Madeline Montgomery has a closer look.
Honestly, for a normal travel day, and there are a whole lot of people really hoping for smooth sailing here at Hartsfield-Jackson. Airport officials estimating 3.6 million people flying through here during this holiday period, with TSA officials saying they believe they'll be screening 1.1 million passengers flying out of Atlanta. Now, all of those folks have dangerous weather to worry about. Our meteorologists predicting storms rolling through the Gulf Coast and south with threatening damaging winds, hail, and possible tornadoes. And then there's a winter blast of rain and sleet that could disrupt air travel in the Northeast late tonight and into tomorrow. The Department of Transportation saying that they've been working closely with airlines to make sure we don't see mass cancellations like we did last December.
While we can't control the weather, we will also be using every tool at our disposal to keep cancellations and delays as low as possible. If your flight gets canceled or significantly delayed for any reason, I want the traveling public to know that you are entitled to a full cash refund if you choose to take that refund rather than a rebooking.
Just a heads up, tomorrow and then this Sunday are being estimated to be the most busy travel days here at the airport. Reporting at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, I'm Madeline Montgomery, Atlanta News First.
And our thanks to Madeline with that report. As we continue our team coverage, meteorologist Cutter Martin actually went out to GEMA to take a look at some of the preparations underway, because obviously this is a very important travel day and very bad timing for this kind of, severe weather that we're seeing.
North Georgia is no stranger to severe weather, tornadoes, hailstorms, floods, and sometimes winter storms. All forms of winter weather can impact Georgia in any given winter season, but ice poses the greatest risk to North Georgians. What would you say a worst case winter weather event impact-wise for North Georgia?
I think worst case weather impact for North Georgia would be an icing event, a major icing event. Generally during icing events, what we see is the loss of power for extended periods of time.
It's what the Georgia Emergency Management Agency, or GEMA, and partner agencies plan for, potentially years ahead of any crippling impacts.
We don't wait for cold weather or ice or snow to arrive before we start preparing. We have plans that have been developed and tested over, many years, and every single year in the spring we do what's called a Winter X, a full-blown activation and practice those skills that we need to make sure that we're responding to any sort of weather emergency.
Just as the First Alert Weather Team develops an action plan during winter weather, GEMA also begins a countdown, working tirelessly to keep Georgians safe.
About 72 hours out, at that point, we start assembling our decision makers and looking at the things that we need to do to be prepared.
Decision makers and their support staff will be moving into a different mode about the same time that winter weather watches are upgraded to warnings, and you start enacting your own plans.
36 hours out, at that point, we would potentially be activating. And then we're looking at other decisions that may need to be made. Is this something where a state of emergency may need to be declared?
As the first flakes begin to fall or the initial glaze of ice forms, people tasked with keeping you safe at GEMA's command center will be making their way down hurried halls.
We will already be here. We will already be in place. You'll have decisions that are being made as far as road closures, anything that the public would need to do in terms of steps that we can give them to make sure that they're prepared.
There are things that you can do to keep you and your family safe this winter season. Always stay in touch with the First Alert forecast. Develop a winter weather plan. For more information, visit AtlantaNewsFirst.com or check out the Atlanta News First app. Cutter Martin, Atlanta News First.
As you can see, pardon me, I failed to unmute myself, but as you can see, the impacts of this storm that we're looking at right now on the radar can be felt up and down the East Coast and really beyond. It goes into the Midwest as well. Of course, I'm not a meteorologist, but our meteorologists are going to join you shortly with exactly what all this means and how this is going to impact you. But I do want to show you a look at how this is impacting people all around the nation. And let's start now in New Jersey.
Well, it's the calm before the storm of Thanksgiving travel here at Newark Airport, but TSA expects this to be the busiest travel season they have ever seen. AAA predicts 55.4 million Americans will travel overall this holiday season. That's a more than 2% increase from last year. Many of those moving by plane. TSA expects to screen more than 30 million travelers over a 12-day period. Several airlines, including United, are beefing up staff this week, taking extra precautions with bad weather possibly on the horizon. We spoke to travelers who tried to beat the rush by heading out today.
The drive out of New York wasn't great, but once we got to Jersey, it was fine.
No problems whatsoever. It was a great trip, zero stress.
Well, tomorrow and Wednesday are expected to be the busiest travel days ahead of Thanksgiving, but of course experts say nothing beats Sunday when everyone's trying to make it home.
All right, so that's a look at the situation in New Jersey. Missouri also experiencing some downed trees and power outages. Let's take a look there.
Travelers should be checking with their airline directly for the most up-to-date information about their flights.
Solid advice whenever you're flying, but even more important this week. Severe weather across large parts of the U.S. threatened to snarl holiday travel plans. Powerful rainstorms over areas of the central U.S. are rolling toward the Midwest, and thunderstorms over parts of the Gulf and southern regions could bring tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail throughout Monday night. To navigate the impact on air travelers, the National Weather Service is positioning meteorologists at 22 FAA centers.
They provide down-to-the-minute weather predictions for exact arrival and departure routes in the busiest parts of the U.S. airspace.
The Department of Transportation says it's been working closely with airlines to ease the cost of trip delays on travelers.
Now, almost all of them guarantee hotels and ground transportation, and all of them guarantee covering meals. If your flight gets canceled or significantly delayed for any reason, I want the traveling public to know that you are entitled to a full cash refund if you choose to take that refund rather than a rebooking.
And that's good news, given forecasters predict by Tuesday, rain and snow could be hampering air and highway travel across large parts of the Midwest, New England, and East Coast, from D.C. to Atlanta.
We will be using every tool at our disposal to keep cancellations and delays as low as possible.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
And I want to show you a live look now out on the roadways here in Georgia. We actually have one of our photojournalists, Izmir Payton, who has been just kind of, he's not holding the camera. Don't be alarmed there. This is a mounted camera, but he's been driving around kind of just giving you the roadways. You can see that his windshield is wet there, but it looks like there may be a little bit of a sheen on the roads. Not too bad yet. But we do understand from our weather team that there is, really worse weather, worse traveling weather that is expected ahead. Let's just give us a moment. We want to see if Izmir is available to actually talk to us and give us a report of what he has experienced on the roadways. Just give us one moment here. How's Izmir's status?
Not dialed in yet. I'm checking it.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna keep trying to get with Izmir and see if he can give us a little report of what's been going on the roadways. But in the meantime, let me show you, Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, the world's busiest airport. Already 73 delays reported there. No cancellations at last check, but that can certainly change, and actually I would say is expected to change because the weather is expected to change as well. Airport officials estimating 3.6 million people will pass through that Atlanta airport during this Thanksgiving holiday travel period. TSA screening around 1.1 million passengers. Okay, so I want to go back out to the roadways, and we have Izmir Payton on the road. Hey, Izmir, can you hear me? This is Joy. Hey, Izmir, can you hear me?
I can now. I have a little difficulties on my end technically, but beyond that, just to let you know, I'm heading 85 south now on the connector, just before Jesse Hill Drive here. Coming up on 20, the rain is a little bit sparse. It's up and down a little bit, I would say. As far as a light rain is what's going on. Traffic, surprisingly, is mild, probably about the volume level that I wouldn't really expect getting ready for the holiday. I can see the traffic going northbound on the connector. It's a little bit heavier than this is right now. But again, everyone's seeming to really pace themselves. I'm only doing about 50 miles per hour, and people aren't really speeding generally around me, so that's a good thing. Especially with all this rain and precipitation making the roadways a little bit more treacherous. I can tell you that I am having issues. I am having issues hearing you, Maria.
Oh, Izmir. So, yeah, I mean, we can see that it's a little bit wet out there. Any advice for drivers?
Well, the obvious thing, Maria, is just really to take it slow here. There's no need for speed. I mean, safety is definitely the paramount issue here. You want to be careful on the roadways. It's not just for your own safety, but for those around you. And sometimes, again, we have the tendency to be distracted while we drive, and this is not the time for it. With this weather, roadways are slick. Ella has been really talking about all morning The difference between stopping in dry, perfect conditions versus stopping on wet roads that may be slick from even leaves falling in this time of year. So I think the main thing is for everyone to, beyond using caution, just slow down a little bit. There's no need for speed. It is the holiday season. We want to get to all want to get to our destination safely. So that would be my main concern, and of course be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, absolutely, Izmir. And I just want to point out for our viewers, you are not holding a camera right now. That is a mounted camera, so you're not distracted driving. I mean, you're talking, but...
No, not at all. Actually, I'm hands-free, and that is a mounted camera within my vehicle here. This is the Coolray First Alert Road Tracker. There are several cameras mounted atop this vehicle, and actually I can push a button here to show you a different camera view from behind me, and that is the traffic that I has behind me. And I can tell you, as I switch back here, there is quite a delay on the northbound 85 side across from me. I don't know if you can see that on the left-hand side of your screen now.
Yeah.
It looks to be slow moving over there.
Oh, yeah.
Into the city just before I-20. So hopefully there's not an accident behind that, and it's just a temporary delay. But again, with this weather and these conditions, this is something that you're going to have to definitely prepare for if you're on your way somewhere.
Oh, yes, definitely. And I'm glad you're not going that direction, because that is stop and go. But thank you so much, Izmir. Stay safe. Stay safe out there, and we will check in with you later. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Listen, thank you. Okay, I want everybody to know, we've been showing you this radar. I think you guys know that green stuff is rain, but the people who really know are our First Alert Weather team, our certified meteorologists, Courtney Jacobazzi and Ella Dorsey. So we're going to let them take over for right now.
Okay, come on in. Good morning. Oh my gosh, we got double boxes. We love it. To be honest, guys, we're like on a new system here, and you guys, if you've watched Weather Where You Are, you know I'm already not good at the original system. So Maria, who is like bent down in a chair here, is doing all of the tech behind this. Courtney.
Yeah.
How was the morning?
It was a little showery, not too bad.
Not too bad.
Which is good.
The roads were really not bad
I
today.
think a lot of people are just hanging tight today, so that's good.
I think a lot of schools out,
Right.
obviously, so there's a lot of people on fall break. There's a lot of people that just took the week off.
Right.
A lot of businesses that are just shut down for Thanksgiving week. What is Thanksgiving break?
I don't know.
We wouldn't know. We're
I would love
meteorologists.
Thanksgiving break, but the weather don't take a break, so neither do we.
But either way, the roads were not crowded this morning.
Right.
We had a couple accidents, but in general, it's been fine. And the rain hasn't been too heavy, really, just yet.
Correct. So that's what we're going to talk about is kind of what's on the way.
Yep.
Obviously, we've been talking about the First Alert Weather Day today.
Yep.
So we'll take people through timing. We also have that threat for severe weather today.
Right.
And as they saw on radar there, this isn't only impacting us, but pretty much the mid-Atlantic states, the Northeast, bringing snow already. So
Is there a way to take this banner off? See, look, Maria, you are an angel from heaven. All right, guys, let's take a look at the whole system. The reason for the First Alert Weather Day today was not because we were going to see widespread severe weather. It wasn't because we're going to see tornadoes or crazy, crazy stuff. It was because this is one of the biggest travel days across the country of the year, and this system's impacting millions of Americans. You can see heavy rain from Georgia all the way through the mid-Atlantic, then back towards Chicago, the Great Lakes, seeing a wintry mix, up into Pennsylvania. See that pink stuff? That is a wintry mix. That is ice and sleet, and then there's snow for New England. So this is going to have a major impact on millions of Americans, both on the roadways and in the air. Courtney, you were monitoring, the air kind of delays, and we're going to check in on those a little bit later, but they weren't too bad this morning.
Right, yeah, and I mean, that just goes to show you that the worst really kind of hasn't hit yet. That cold front hasn't really moved in, but as it does, we'll start to pick up our wind, which that will probably cause some issues for takeoffs and landings. Also, when it comes to the rain, that might cause some issues. And then ultimately when it starts storming, we might have even more problems for planes, because planes can handle the rain, that's fine. But it's more so the thunderstorms that they can't really.
Totally. And you know what? To be completely honest, guys, we talk about a capped atmosphere. We talk about think about it as a cap on top of a lid, like a soda can, right? Oh, am I on camera? You guys. Oh man, this is not TV. This is still learning this, okay? Hey, so when we talk about a capped atmosphere, think about it as like a lid on top of a boiling pot of water, or a cap on top of a soda bottle.
Shake it.
Right, like a 2-liter bottle of Coke, right? You shake the bottle and all of that energy is in the bottle, but unless you take that lid off, you're not going to get the energy to explode. We have a very strong cap on our atmosphere today, so there's a very low end risk that the energy is able to explode and we're able to get severe weather. However, there's a small chance this afternoon that we could see a few stronger storms. So right now it's just rain. It's just been light rain today. In fact, not every area is seeing rain. It's just very light in nature. It's pretty gross outside, a little bit of fog. Here's your hour-by-hour forecast, guys. Essentially about an 80 to 100% chance of rain for the remainder of the day where the sun is up. I've added a little icon you could see between about 3 to 7 p.m., really generally 3 to 6 for Metro. That's when storms are possible. That's when we could see that very low-end threat for an isolated storm. And Courtney, North Georgia is completely capped, what we just talked about, because it's much cooler up there. So you can see they're not included in this tornado risk.
Right, and even energy aside, shear is a huge thing. We've been talking about that through the morning. So that's kind of, weather talk, right? Is that allowed on here? Is this a podcast? Welcome to our podcast. So I totally got thrown off. That totally just took my wind away. But was that a pun?
Another weather pun, if you will.
I think we need to start a podcast. Okay, in all seriousness though, okay, so wind is surging out of the south right now, right? We have that wind advisory because it's going to be really windy. That's ushering in at the surface not only some moisture, which is an ingredient that you need for storms when it comes to the grand scheme of things, but then that front's going to move in, and that's going to change the wind direction at the surface in some of the upper levels. So as all that starts to mix together, the shear is going to get higher and higher.
Turning of winds.
Right. Correct.
And that is what you need. It's the number one ingredient for tornadoes. So we're not going to see extreme hail. We're not going to see crazy wind, straight line winds. But with that wind shear, the turning of the wind with height, we could see an isolated tornado. That's the reason for the very low end 2% chance of a tornado from Atlanta down to the south later on today. And again, that time frame will be more between about 3 to 6 p.m. today. So storm threats, very low end risk for flooding. We may see a rumble of thunder, but generally lightning is going to be a low end risk and a low end risk for tornado. In fact, the greatest risk today is just going to be for really breezy conditions. And this is your current wind gusts right now. Look at the areas in purple, West Georgia, especially North Georgia. You're seeing wind gusts between 20 to 30 miles per hour. And Courtney, this is the area that is under the wind advisory you just talked about.
Right, absolutely. So far north Georgia, essentially this cold front that's moving through the area, there's a parent low pressure center of it. And the closer you get to an area of low pressure, while it is far away, the windier it's going to get, kind of like a hurricane. So a hurricane is an example of a low pressure system, and the eye is where the center of the storm is where the highest wind is. So far north Georgia, closer to that center of circulation, you're going to have those higher wind. The front's going to be a little stronger as it moves in far north Georgia. So even up in the mountains, they could experience gusts upwards of 50 miles per hour because of the elevation that it has. So and something we'll watch.
For perspective, 39 mile per hour winds are tropical storm force winds. And you can see around noon today, even this is for Metro Atlanta, could see gusts up to 38. So it is going to be quite a breezy afternoon as that front arrives. You can see after sunset tonight, essentially after the front passes, the wind completely dies down. So that is the good news. So with all that being said, let's take you through the Futurecast. This is our high-res model updates every hour, so it's pretty dang accurate. Stopping the clock for you. Oh, we did not stop the clock. We just went right on through. Okay.
Break it down for him, Ella.
Okay. Around 3 to 5 p.m., that main line reaches Metro Atlanta. So if you are going to be on the roads later today, actually, I would just suggest not being on the roads between 3 to 5 p.m. And areas south of the city as this main line moves through, again, could see isolated isolated, very brief tornadoes, very low-end tornadoes. By 10 p.m. tonight, we are all drying out, okay? So this afternoon, you can expect this is a very thin line, I would say about an hour of really heavy rain, possibly a few rumbles of thunder before we completely dry out. Now, tonight won't be too bad. We're not going to see like a major cold blast arrive tonight. In fact, morning lows will be in the 40s and low 50s. But tomorrow is going to feel like winter, essentially. I mean, 55 degrees is our average high in December. So it is going to be breezy. It is going to be cool. It's going to be mostly cloudy. Can't rule out a stray shower. But Courtney, I don't know about you. Can we cut back to... See, I promise y'all I'm going to learn this system. I don't know about you, Court, but I don't like warm Thanksgivings. Like,
no.
A Thanksgiving that's 70 degrees outside, it just doesn't feel like the season. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely. And then, of course, you're cooking and you're in a hot kitchen and it's
Running
hot
around,
outside. So
you're drinking mulled wine.
You don't get any relief.
You're throwing the football.
Yeah.
You're
no
sitting
one
at the
likes
fire
it.
pit. You
Right.
don't want to be hot, right?
No. Right.
I feel like 60 degrees is the most
Perfect.
perfect temperature because it's cool on the cool side. Ladies, you can still wear the sweater dress you were wearing. Fellas, you can play a full-blown game of capture the flag or football in the
solid
backyard,
choice.
and you won't, right? Capture the flag. Oh,
Great game.
love that game.
I get very competitive in that game.
Me too.
Yep.
You can do any outdoor activities. You could even light a fire in the fire pit, a fire in the fireplace. You could even light, and I know the kitchen sometimes gets warm when you're cooking. You open the window, you'll get that nice air coming in. So let's show you what Thanksgiving looks like. The big question is, how much cloud cover are we going to see? Courtney and I went through this morning. We think it'll be mostly sunny in the morning with increasing clouds in the afternoon, but we'll start quite cool, 30s and low 40s. And then by 2 p.m. with the sunshine, we've hit 60 degrees. 6 p.m. mostly cloudy, 55. So with high temperatures right around 60, just doesn't get better.
And sunshine potentially too. That would be fantastic. The breeze will die down a little bit on Thursday, which will be nice. Although I love a breeze. I'm a breeze girl.
Are you?
Yeah, I love breezes.
Our Don Shipman really hates wind.
Really?
He went on a whole tangent about it, and he said wind is just, it creates messes.
I guess it does. But it's really cute when my dog walks and his ears flop in the wind. It's adorable.
Okay.
So anyway, it's comfortable. But regardless, Thanksgiving will be great. It'll be cool. So you'll be able to get out and enjoy it. And thankfully, I mean, we don't love that the rain's falling on a travel day like this, hence the first alert weather day. But at least it's not happening on Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
so
totally. Really, I want everyone just to be, kind of a little bit weather aware this afternoon. Because we could see, again, that isolated storm embedded in that main line that moves through between 3 to 7 p.m. We talked about Wednesday. We talked about Thursday. Black Friday, we're still seeing a small chance for a few showers, but honestly, models are kind of getting drier with that. So not a reason to cancel your Black Friday plans. And then this weekend kind of up in the air as well. We're seeing the potential for a little wedge on Saturday, which would mean quite cool conditions. So we went 57 right now, but it could end up being cooler than that. Sunday looks great. Regardless, the weekend does look dry, so that is good news.
Right.
And coming up a little bit later in this show, we are going to talk about the drought because we had a new drought monitor last Thursday, and Courtney, areas, this rain, I know it sucks, but it is really going to help out the drought.
Right.
And we'll take a look at the rain outlook over the next 2 weeks as well, and we got to talk about our travel forecast as well. We will go through that in just a little bit for you guys, okay?
And a little plug quickly, our First Alert Weather app. Good idea to have that downloaded because if severe weather starts rolling in, you'll get alerted on your phone.
Okay, we can go on a tangent about this app. Put me on screen, Maria. I'm ready to go in on the app.
Ella's very passionate about our app.
Okay, it's the best weather app. I have like 18 weather apps on my phone. Court, it's the best
really good.
weather app that we have, and I'm not being partial. I mean,
Right.
I'm be honest with you guys. I didn't used to use the old weather app that we had. This one,
Really good.
Yes.
I mean, you can look at future radar on your phone.
Futurecast that we just showed you. You
Super
can look
fun.
at that on your phone. Another thing I really love about it is if you turn your push notifications on, which you should, because that's to me like the best
Useful
part of
tool.
the app. Correct.
Yeah.
If there's heavy rain headed into your area, it'll literally pop on your phone and say heavy rain headed into your area. Mind blowing.
Right.
If there's lightning detected in your area, to say lightning detected 3.7 miles away from your area. Great tool to have in the summer months when the kids are playing baseball, when you're out at the pool. But Also, now that we're getting into winter, we have a lot of kind of iffy weather. We get ice storms, you guys know, really heavy rain. We can eat. Also, generally, we do see severe weather in the winter. We're updating this app constantly with video forecasts too, so it really gives context to just the hour-by-hour forecast. And also, the Apple app that comes on your phone.
Oof.
Is updated.
Did you see that article
by
on
a computer?
Forbes or something like that, where they said the Apple app is the worst weather app possible? Its research has been done.
You guys get the forecast wrong. I'm like, I don't get the forecast wrong. Your phone, your AI-generated forecast, gets the forecast wrong. All right? If you had our app, you would know. Rodney and Courtney and I go in and manually, hour by hour, update the rain chances and the temperatures and the wind. I mean, we spend a lot of time on it, so it's super accurate. So, again, the QR code. Let's put the QR code up for
on the 7 day.
Yeah, on the 7 day. This QR code right here, top right of your screen, which you will always see. You will always see this when we are on TV. That will take you to the App Store. App is free to download. Great tool to have. We've already sent how many push notifications? I mean, you sent 2 video forecasts already today.
Yeah. And you went in there and manually updated temperatures, rain percentages.
I even got down to the wind speed.
Oh, no, not the wind speed, y'all.
I was really getting in on the wind speed today.
It's important. Everything counts.
Yep. All right, guys, we'll be back in just a little bit. We'll go through that drought monitor, and we'll take a look at rainfall totals and all of the rest of the good stuff. Stay with us.
Well, it's the calm before the storm of Thanksgiving travel here at Newark Airport, but TSA expects this to be the busiest travel season they have ever seen. AAA predicts 55.4 million Americans will travel overall this holiday season. That's a more than 2% increase from last year. Many of those moving by plane. TSA expects to screen more than 30 million travelers over a 12-day period. Several airlines, including United, are beefing up staff this week, taking extra precautions with bad weather possibly on the horizon. We spoke to travelers who tried to beat the rush by heading out today.
The drive out of New York wasn't great, but once we got to Jersey, it was fine.
No problems whatsoever. It was a great trip, zero stress.
Well, tomorrow and Wednesday are expected to be the busiest travel days ahead of Thanksgiving, but of course,
despite the bad weather, thankfully things aren't looking too bad. When you look at the flight board, really a whole lot of on times. There are delays in the double digits, but they are nothing too dramatic out here. Pretty standard, honestly, for a normal travel day. And there are a whole lot of people really hoping for smooth sailing here at Hartsfield-Jackson. Airport officials estimating 3.6 million people flying through here during this holiday period, with TSA officials saying they believe they'll be screening 1.1 million passengers flying out of Atlanta. Now, all of those folks have dangerous weather to worry about. Our meteorologists predicting storms rolling through the Gulf Coast and south with threatening damaging winds, hail, and possible tornadoes. And then there's a winter blast of rain and sleet that could disrupt air travel in the Northeast late tonight and into tomorrow. The Department of Transportation saying that they've been working closely with airlines to make sure we don't see mass cancellations like we did last December.
While we can't control the weather, we will also be using every tool at our disposal to keep cancellations and delays as low as possible. If your flight gets canceled or significantly delayed for any reason, I want the traveling public to know that you are entitled to a full cash refund if you choose to take that refund rather than to rebook it.
Just a heads up, tomorrow and then this Sunday are being estimated to be the most busy travel days here at the airport. Reporting at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, I'm Madeline Montgomery, Atlanta News First.
Yeah, all right. So Madeline gave you that heads up there. Tomorrow and Saturday expected to be the busiest days at the airport. And you want to make sure that you plan for some delays. Make sure that you check your flight status before you head out there, because already at least 73 delays have been reported at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. We anticipate that there would be more, and the potential for cancellations as well. So, like Madeline said, very, very busy travel period. Airport officials estimating 3.6 million people will pass through the Atlanta airport during this Thanksgiving holiday travel period. The TSA screening around 1.1 million passengers. And with the storms that we're talking about, certainly the potential for many flights and to be canceled and or delayed. Secretary of the Department of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, actually said if your flight is canceled or significantly delayed for any reason, you are entitled to a full cash refund if you choose to take that refund rather than a rebooking. So that's just a reminder. That is an option on the table if you do face that. But just beware that your travel plans could be impacted, frankly, could be ruined. I hate to put it bluntly and be grim about it, but that's what we're dealing with because of the forecast that you just heard from Ella Dorsey and Courtney Jacobazzi. But look, I mean, it really depends where you're traveling to and from. It really depends on the timing. If you're driving, as you heard those ladies say, look, you just want to avoid traveling basically this afternoon into the evening because it's going to be very wet and it's going to be treacherous out on the roadways, as you can see. So this is a live camera that our Izmir Payton is got. He's a photojournalist and he's mounted it on his vehicle there, so you can kind of see. It looks like he's headed towards 85 there. It seems to be 400 that he's traveling on, just kind of looking at what it looks like here. But, at the moment, not too bad, but it's going to get worse. And look at the traffic going the other direction, by the way. But, as I believe Ella pointed this out earlier, that when the roads are wet and there are leaves on the roads, it can quadruple your stopping time. So very, very dangerous. And, you got to take it slow. You got to take it slow or stay off the roads, better yet, if you don't need to be on the roads. The good news is, they did highlight on their forecast that does mean that this storm system is kind of coming in and then coming out in time for a fairly dry Thanksgiving. So that's the good news there. But in the meantime, if you were planning to travel today, or maybe you have someone traveling to you today, if they can't get it done in the next few hours, they could encounter some problems, needless to say. Okay, so Izmir, who's actually driving this camera, we're looking at these live images. Izmir, I don't know if you can hear us, and hopefully we can hear you. If you can hear us, tell us what's going on the roads out there.
Well, good morning. I'm heading 85 north now, just left the connector here. And I don't know if you can make out on the right-hand side, there's some flashing lights going on here causing a little bit of delay. I can tell you getting through the connector was really a little bit of a drag there. I think I averaged probably between 20 and 25 miles per hour for the 7-8 miles of going through the middle of the city there. And as I approach this on the right-hand side, I can see it's 2 cars involved. Georgia State Patrol is out here. There's a little front end damage to one of those vehicles I can definitely see there. Of course, this is something that we're going to see a lot today on the roadways simply because of the rain. This is definitely making for not ideal driving conditions out here. I can tell you that the volume is still not quite what I expected for the day or a couple of days before Thanksgiving, but it is steady out here. There are a lot of people out here, and as we see on my left, some people are driving not as carefully as others. But I'm doing about 45 miles per hour right now in the second to the left lane. And that seems to be a pretty good clip for what's going on out here, well below the speed limit, as of course I try to be safe first and foremost.
Definitely. And people always ask this question whenever we do these kind of drive cams. I just want everybody to know, speaking of being safe, this is a mounted camera. You are not holding a camera while you're driving. Nobody should be holding a camera while they're driving.
Exactly.
We're just being clear about that.
No, that's just silly, and no, that is not what we do here.
So what other advice do you have for people? When they're out there on the roads, anything else that you may have noticed that we may not know about?
Well, I can't think of anything, but what I do want to highlight, I know that Ella and Courtney have been mentioning that the storms will be at their worst between 3 and 5 p.m. today. And I would like to say to people at that point, if you can avoid being on the road, please do. That is not the time to be out there when it's storming at its worst. I know sometimes it's unavoidable because that's part of our commute, or when we get off work, or when we need to pick up the kids. But maybe today's the day during a holiday week to pick up your kids a little bit early to make sure you're not driving out there in the middle of that storm when things are going to be at its worst. And I understand that, it's a holiday week. We have errands to run. Maybe now is the time to run those errands before the storms get even worse and before there are more people on the roadways dealing with their rush hour commute. So that's the main thing I would say. To also, of course, be cautious. Take your time. Keep it slow. I've seen a number of hero vehicles out on the side of the road since I've been driving, since we've been talking just now. So there are enough incidents out here without you being a part of it.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And I mean, that I would echo that. If you can just stay off the roads, I mean, that's always the safest option during the storm. If you are forced, like you said, maybe that's your commute home is 5 p.m. and that's pretty typical time when people are getting off work is 5 p.m. and they hit the road and there's nothing you can do about it, but except when you're out there, just really taking it slow. Any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'd say again, take it slow. I'm up to 55 now, but I'm solidly on 85, and I'm going to move over a couple lanes here because it is really opening up and turning into a speedway. I can see the traffic behind me really trying to pick up their speed. I would also say be very aware of the semis out here. We all have decreased visibility, and of course we talked about stopping distance in this precipitation. Those big tanker trucks are carrying a lot of weight, and for them, they just cannot stop on a dime. We were just dealing with one of the famous truck wreck lawyers in town last week, and of course that's something that she harps on, is that those trucks can't stop on a dime. So I would say definitely be aware of the vehicles around you and take special caution for those large semis who are 9 times out of 10 on a deadline. They don't want to be going as slow as we are. Where we're just trying to get home, they have somewhere to get to, and they've got a payload and a price tag on the end of their destination.
Yeah, no, that is something so important, and this is just just a little personal anecdote. But me and my family, I've told you, Izmir, we have a rescue farm with horses and other animals. So I haul horses a lot personally, and people will just pull out right in front of you. Or they're trying to just switch lanes and all that, and there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do when you got 6,000 pounds behind you between the horses and the trailer. You know what I mean? Or same for these long distance truck drivers, even more weight. So it's really dangerous for them and for the people on each side. It really, that's a great advice. Just be conscious of that. We always hear from motorcyclists saying as well, make sure that you keep an eye out for them as well, right? And then if you're behind one of those big trucks, you always see those signs that say, if you don't see our mirrors, we can't see you. And that's a really important point, just being conscious of how other drivers, if they can see you, if they're aware of you, and so forth.
And as you mentioned that, I have to point out that there are a number of cars that are driving out here without their headlights on. Now, this is just a basic rule of the road. When it is raining, when there is precipitation and there are low light levels, that it is a rule of the road that you are supposed to have your headlights on. So that is, again, just another measure for you to increase your visibility so you can see the other people around you, the other vehicles that are driving around you. These are all just safety measures that are in place for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And and this is a time of year where people are excited. They're calling grandma and auntie and this and that and saying, oh, what are we gonna make? Are we gonna have green bean casserole? Oh, I got the cinnamon for the sweet potato, this and that, and you're having all these conversations, and I'm guilty of it too while you're driving. I mean, hands free, of course, but still sometimes your mind is not 100% on the drive, and that's not advisable, especially when we're talking about the storm.
Yeah, and I am guilty of passing on the green bean casserole there. Not one of my Thanksgiving favorites. But I digress from that, definitely. It is the holiday season. Look, this is a joyous time, and of course we can be distracted, and maybe we have a lot on our minds thinking about we need to prepare house cleaning, getting ready for guests that are coming in from out of town, or maybe we're getting ready to go out of town ourselves, and there's getting the kids together and getting maybe your food items, and you're packing clothes for the weekend. There's a lot that goes into that, but again, I think the main thing is that we are able to celebrate with our family safely. We want to get to our destinations, so speed doesn't need to be a factor in that, especially when we're out on the roadways. Maybe you can pack fast and drive slow.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Izmir Payton, for giving us, that perspective from the roadways. And remember, this is the calm before the storm, everybody. So it looks all right now. This is not how it's going to look in a few hours. So if you're thinking about traveling during the storm, please don't do it if you don't have to. Okay, somebody who knows much more about this than I do, meteorologist Courtney Jacobazzi, is here with me now. Courtney, my goodness, so it actually looks fine out there. That's going to change really fast, right?
Right, absolutely. We are watching the potential for essentially heavy rain and storms to roll through later today. All of this light rain that's been going on throughout the morning is actually ahead of our physical cold front that will bring heavy rain and storms a little later this afternoon. So what you're seeing from our Cool Ray First Alert tracker there, just some light sprinkles on the windshield. This is as good as it's going to get for the next couple of hours. And then once we head past lunchtime, that's when we'll really start to pick up that intensity starting in West Georgia along our front, and that front will sweep off to the east, ultimately impacting downtown, including the airport, of course, as we head into the early afternoon or mid-afternoon around 3 or 4 o'clock. Fog?
No, I said camera hog.
Oh. Maria's working on double boxes. There, get in place, Ella, if you want to be on camera. Stand in formation. Oh my gosh.
I actually nailed that. Wow.
Wow, good job.
Guys, we've been awake since
meteorologist and elevator extraordinaire.
2 a.m.
Correct.
And you know what? We're in a good mood because there hasn't been like a single crazy accident.
Except for the overturned tractor trailer, but that was
unrelated to weather.
Correct.
Not our fault. There hasn't been a single severe storm.
Right.
The severe risk is looking low. People stayed off their roadways. People are listening, so we're in a good mood here.
Correct. Now, hopefully that will continue for all of our coworkers and meteorologists in the afternoon, but we'll see.
And we also got to talk about travel across the entire country. Maria, can we put Max 1 into here?
But yeah, it's going to pick up later today, so we'll see, how that goes.
Here we go.
We'll see if Atlanta's.
Atlanta.
You know how it goes here.
I mean, it's not great out there. Here's 2 different perspectives for you. We got Marietta Square on the left, Lake Lanier on the right. It's pretty gross outside, pretty gloomy, and also seeing some patchy fog, not dense fog, but visibility down to like a mile and a half. Cherokee County, Lake Allatoona, Marietta, you can see visibility down. So basically just low-hanging clouds. It's just kind of nasty out there right now. And here's the big picture, okay? This is the reason for the First Alert Weather Day today, is because this system going to impact the entire East Coast, already is. Let's check in on some flight delays. Courtney, you probably know more on this than I do. You weren't really seeing any delays earlier this morning. You were a little surprised by that.
Yeah, I was, especially because this weather system, has impacted so many people in so many states. It started in the central United States, brought some severe weather to Texas yesterday. So you would think that some of those delays would kind of extend because it's always kind of a domino effect. But overall, it's really not looking half bad. And I kind of mentioned, so believe it or not, Ella, you may not know this about me or not. So my dad actually is a pilot. And so I grew up around airplanes, and I've actually flown a plane before. Like, really. So not only can I tell you the weather and give you the traffic, but I know how to fly an airplane. Very, very novice.
That would not be an airplane that I would be a passenger on.
I wouldn't be either. But anyway, but I did have to read about aviation weather and like all that stuff to actually get in the plane and do flight hours and whatnot. And so essentially, if you don't have thunderstorms, because thunderstorms, you obviously have downdrafts, which will cause issues when it comes to airplanes because that's a sinking motion in the air. And so when you have thunderstorms, that's when planes can't fly. That's why planes have to fly above thunderstorms, because the air is very buoyant up there, so it keeps them kind of like bopping along. But once you get thunderstorms is when it starts to get dicey. But when it comes to rain, that doesn't really bother planes.
Right.
So it might cause some delays, especially, it's not really necessarily the rain. It's more so going to be the snow and the ice to our north.
Right. So that was a great explanation there. Rain really doesn't impact things. Storms have a big impact on planes that are in the air. And then ice and snow has a big impact on the airports themselves because
Right.
you have to de-ice the planes, you have to de-ice the ground. So if we're going, can we go back to airport delays here? As you can see, there's really not many delays other
Right.
than people that decided to spend their Thanksgiving in Vegas.
Right.
There's some delays there.
For some reason.
Right.
But it could be on the way as storms pick up today and more snow falls.
Right. So we're going to take you through not only today, we're going to take you through the rest of the week, travel delays across the country. This is this morning, this afternoon, still looks bad across the East Coast, especially up towards Boston. It could get pretty dicey with that wintry mix. Wednesday, which is the biggest travel day of the one of the biggest travel days of the entire year, looks great across the entire country. So that's good news tomorrow for those of you traveling. Thursday, there's going to be a system in the Rockies, so Wyoming into Montana, but you know what? If I had to put my bottomest dollar on it, I would guess you're not going to Yellowstone for Thanksgiving. I wish we were.
I wish we were too. I would love to see some snow like that. A couple more months for me.
Right.
Your girl's heading out there. Yeehaw.
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 She'd be going to Montana in the middle of the winter because she's crazy. All right. Friday, the Rockies up through Colorado could see some travel delays. Still looks really good across the southeast. And then this yellow that you see, really not a big impact. So Saturday looks good to go. Sunday looks kind of fine as well. So outside of today, the travel impacts from weather the next several days will be low. Now, Courtney, you and I went on a tangent about our handy dandy weather app.
Oh, yeah.
So we got to get back on it. This is the First Alert weather app.
And it's great.
It's so good.
There it is.
It's so good. This is what you see as you open it, okay? 90% chance of rain through noon, then the storms start to roll in. We'll see just a chance for an isolated storm, but heavy rain through about 4 or 5, and then that rain starts to end. That's your hour-by-hour forecast. You can get current radar. You can get futurecast radar there. Really good. Okay, let's talk about the drought. Since September 1st, we've gotten under 4 inches of rain. That is 6 inches below where we should be since September 1st. So it has been a very dry fall season. We are almost exactly 8.5 inches below average on the year. If I do some quick math, that is like 20% of our yearly rainfall. So we are only at 80% of our yearly rainfall. So we definitely are in a pretty big drought. So that's the good piece of news here, Court, is that we really desperately need this rain.
Right, yeah. And some places that have been stricken by drought and even some wildfires up to our north, places like Fannin County, where we heard about that wildfire earlier today. This rain is going to be super beneficial to them. But not only for that, I mean, our rivers are all really low for people who like to do recreation this time of year when it's a little bit warmer, not necessarily super cold. And we've had some pretty mild days. The rivers are extremely
really low.
Yeah. And so if it starts north, it all kind of trickles down to the south. So that's just the natural way. The fancy word for that is tributary. It's your meteorology word for the day.
She's getting it, guys.
That's it.
She's going
I'm really,
dictionary.
I am definitely going through my weather encyclopedia in my head right now. But anyway, this rain is going to be beneficial for so many reasons. Agriculture, also for, of course, just the safety of land when it comes to, fire danger and stuff like that. Because we've seen a handful of wildfires, Ella.
Yeah,
and
we
so
have. There's actually one in Fannin County. It's contained right now, but this rain's certainly helping. This is the rainfall since last 24 hours. You can see not great totals thus far. About less than half an inch across West Georgia, not much across East Georgia, but we haven't seen the heaviest rain yet. In fact, we've just seen very light rain. The heaviest is still on the way. So still some pretty good rainfall totals. This is your current additional rain. You can see areas like Canton, Gainesville, up to Lakemont, Lake Burton, Lake Rabun, getting over an inch of rain, about a half of an inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch south of the city. But I want to remind you that areas that are going to see over an inch potentially are the most drought-stricken areas. This is the current drought monitor, which was updated last Thursday. And Northwest Georgia is still in that extreme and exceptional drought. This includes Somerville. You are in the worst type of drought, D4 drought. It's still a really bad drought in Calhoun, Ellijay. I was just up in the Ellijay area, and it was so dry. It was so dry. You could literally smell how dry it was in the leaves. Calhoun's still in that really bad drought. Over into the Calhoun Wilderness area, Fannin County, Helen, you're in that. Dahlonega, you're in a really bad drought. Down towards Metro Atlanta, little bit better. We are in a moderate drought. So we all could definitely use this rainfall. And Courtney, it looks like we're going to stay kind of in this wet pattern here through the end of of the month.
Right, yeah. And we've been kind of looking at models and we've been saying it's progressive. I mean, it's just week after week. I call it being on a conveyor belt. It's like weather systems are just on a conveyor belt and they'll come through. And that is usually what we start seeing in like October, which is usually a pretty wet month for us, and we didn't.
Yep.
But now it seems like we're going to start getting back on track. So maybe this will kind of put us out of our deficit. Not fun for people trying to, go out and about and do all the fun holiday things, but we need the rain.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but December is the second wettest month for us here in Metroland. It's usually gray, it's usually nasty, a lot of days like today, but we need it. We do need it. So this is the rainfall outlook for December 26th through 30th, which is next week. You can see above average precipitation is likely to continue for our state. So we're going to see multiple rain systems, one probably next Monday, another one possible later in the week. So just plan on continuing to need the umbrella, and that is good news because we do need that rain pretty significantly as we head into the winter. Certainly if we don't get out of the drought by the time we get to spring, that could mean really bad news for our upcoming summer.
Oh yeah, for sure. And just even thinking economical, you need rain, you need chill hours, you need all those things for a huge portion of our state. I know maybe not a lot of that farming goes on here, but a lot of our agriculture and our economy is based off of peanuts, blueberries, peaches, all the things. So weather impacts so many things, including that. And so we need it. We could use it. And we're getting some today.
Amarillo sky.
No, rain is a good thing. Rain
I
is
know,
good
but
thing.
it was about the farmer guy out in Texas. And the rain wouldn't come.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but
Amarillo sky. I think that's literally what it's called.
Yep.
I can't wait to blast that on my Spotify when I leave today.
I really hope you do.
That's only 2 words I know.
Yeah. Once you hear it, you'll get into it, and then it'll be really
Jason
catchy.
Aldean.
That is a Jason Aldean song.
You know what? I don't even know country, but today I'm a country girl.
I'll say Ella comes in bopping to like rap every day.
Okay, I had some Deep House on today, Courtney. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, Cutters is going to take over. We're going to hear from Brooks, but we got extended coverage. We're going to keep you updated, everything you need to know all the time. When there is weather happening, when we are not on TV, we will be on Atlanta News First Plus. So, if any time you need weather information, and there is significant weather happening, you can just tune in to where you are right now, and you can bet that we will be here keeping you updated with the latest. We have reporters all across the metro, and honestly, with the El Nino winter that we're going to see, Court, we're likely to see a lot of rain, and my winter forecast was pretty brutal. I think we're going to get a couple snowfall events. We could get an ice event. So we will certainly be on here a lot in the future. It's a great tool for you guys to have as the winter weather sets in.
Because it's coming.
It's coming.
Whether you want it or not. All right. Brooks is going to take over, take you through some of your news of the day. And again, we'll keep you posted on your forecast. Any kind of travel delays on this First Alert Weather Day throughout the day. Make it a good one, guys.
Travelers should be checking with their airline directly for the most up-to-date information about their flights.
Solid advice whenever you're flying, but even more important this week. Severe weather across large parts of the U.S. threaten to snarl holiday travel plans. Powerful rainstorms over areas of the central U.S. are rolling toward the Midwest, and thunderstorms over parts of the Gulf and southern regions could bring tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail throughout Monday night. To navigate the impact on air travelers, the National Weather Service is positioning meteorologists at 22 FAA centers.
They provide down-to-the-minute weather predictions for exact arrival and departure routes in the busiest parts of the U.S. airspace.
The Department of Transportation says it's been working closely with airlines to ease the cost of trip delays on travelers.
Now, almost all of them guarantee hotels and ground transportation, and all of them guarantee covering meals. If your flight gets canceled or significantly delayed for any reason, I want the traveling public to know that you are entitled to a full cash refund if you choose to take that refund rather than a rebooking.
And that's good news, given forecasters predict by Tuesday, rain and snow could be hampering air and highway travel across large parts of the Midwest, New England, and East Coast, from D.C. to Atlanta.
We will be using every tool at our disposal to keep cancellations and delays as low as possible.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Well, hello, everybody. Brooks Baptiste here, checking in from the First Alert desk. Wow, this is how it's supposed to be. Continuing coverage on a day like today, where we are obviously watching that weather system that seems to be making its way through the country, impacting some travel. I want to talk about that because as we get into some of your stories that are making headlines in and around Atlanta, as you can imagine, the weather is the top story today because people are traveling. They don't want to deal with the delays with flights. In Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, you know how that place could be. So let's get into this. Because we are expecting some of that not so great weather here, in Atlanta and then, of course, around the country. This seems to be impacting the holiday travel rush. Right now, there are a lot of people that are just hoping for a smooth sailing over at Hartsfield-Jackson, and our Madeline Montgomery, she was there. And, she was saying when she had a chance to really look and see what everybody was doing, she said, people still seem to have some smiles on their faces and whatnot because it wasn't awful, but it makes you wonder how will things look a little later on today. Just to give you some numbers and put things into perspective for you, airport officials estimate 3.6 million people flying through Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, or will be flying, I should say, through the airport. TSA officials saying they believe they're going to be screening 1.1 million passengers. Yeah. So we're talking some serious numbers here. It's been said that this may just be the busiest, but now people are concerned about those weather dangers that they're going to think about, but then most importantly, they're just trying to get to their destination. Well, the Department of Transportation says it's been working closely with airlines to make sure we don't see mass cancellations like we did in December.
While we can't control the weather, we will also be using every tool at our disposal to keep cancellations and delays as low as possible. If your flight gets canceled or significantly delayed for any reason, I want the traveling public to know that you are entitled to a full cash refund if you choose to take that refund rather than a rebooking.
Yeah, that was Secretary Pete Buttigieg. And I mean, he very well said it, that you need to know your rights as a flyer, because if you get stuck, you get stranded, do you even know what you're entitled to? Do you know what an airline is supposed to do? There have been new policies that have been put into place since that fiasco that we saw and that chaos that we saw last year in December that had so many people stranded going into the new year. So make sure you know that you are eligible for those refunds and check those policies, check those tickets. But then also you can read up on this on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. We've got more information there because definitely it's something you need to know. All right, another story that we're watching this morning. It has been 3 months since a 62-year-old Atlanta deacon lost his life during a traffic stop. We've talked about this story. It didn't just gain headlines here in Atlanta. This has been a story that's been talked about nationally. Well, Atlanta News First, Bridget Spencer reports this morning from Atlanta City Hall, where we are hoping, or I should say expecting, for that body camera footage to be released at any moment today.
The family is asking that the community joins them here at Atlanta City Hall tonight at 7 o'clock to remember and honor Deacon Johnny Holman. Attorneys for the family say the body camera footage is expected to be released any time now. The 62-year-old was arrested and tased in August after he allegedly refused to sign a traffic ticket. Now, during that stop, he became unresponsive and later died at Grady Hospital. Now, the officer, Karan Kimbrough, was fired and an investigation was launched. The autopsy report says Holman had some underlying health issues, but his family says his death could have easily been avoided had the officer de-escalated the situation.
We want to see what this justice look like. And for us, that's this officer not only being terminated. We don't want him to ever work at another police department. We don't want him to ever do this to anyone else. Yes, we want him prosecuted.
That former officer, Officer Kimbrough, denies any wrongdoing. He has retained a lawyer and plans to appeal his termination. From Atlanta City Hall, Bridget Spencer, Atlanta News First.
Yeah, that family is hoping for justice, and the family just wants some closure. And, when you see a body camera footage, a lot of times that at least puts things into perspective for people. So for that family, and then for the public as well, because they have a lot of concerns, they have a lot of questions, and they're wondering what really happened in this situation. There are a lot of people questioning that. Another story that we're watching, the ongoing trial of the alleged YSL gang. It is set to resume today. This comes after the legal teams were in court until 10 o'clock last night. You heard me right. So Atlanta rapper Young Thug and dozens more have been charged with federal racketeering charges. And the motions hearing, it comes as the actual trial is set to begin the Monday after Thanksgiving. Now, it's taken months of delays and jury selection to get to this point. In Atlanta News First, you can count on us because we are going to be in court gavel to gavel as the trial develops. Now, when you hear these updates in this story, you may be feeling similar to a lot of people who are saying, this has been a long process, a lengthy process, and then you wonder how things will pan out. So, of course, we'll be keeping a very close eye on this. Again, next Monday is when things are set to go underway, and we'll have to see. District Attorney Fonnie Willis has been very clear in her approach of, what she believes should happen and these charges that they are facing, the RICO charges, and also how this could potentially set a precedent for what we could see in the future about lyrics being used as evidence in these cases. So what is going to happen? We will be there in that courtroom to let you know of that. All right, this brings us to our last story as we're kind of on the topic of celebrities and whatnot. The Chrisleys, many know the Chrisleys. Well, we're now learning that a federal court has reportedly granted Todd and Julie Chrisley's legal team request for oral arguments regarding an appeal. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, this means that the Georgia residents could be closer to being released from prison. The Chrisleys' daughter, Savannah, shared this update on social media, and the two are currently serving time after being convicted of fraud. They were facing some charges of fraud and, a lack of taking care of taxes and wire fraud and so many things. And I think it, really came as a surprise to a lot of people because they are reality TV stars, but some would argue that reality TV isn't always so real, right? So you never know these lives and whatnot that people are living. But regardless, again, we'll be staying on top of that to see if they will be released anytime soon, if they will have that sentence time shortened a bit. But again, those oral arguments will soon happen. And once they do, we will be sure to keep you posted. All right. Now, I don't know, Maria, if we can take a live look outside. I may be kind of putting us on the spot here. Maria has been back here behind the scenes just making things happen, and she is just doing it. And matter of fact, she didn't just give me one live look. She gave me like 4 of them. Okay, well, three and a half. One's a black screen down there, but it's all good. So you've got Marietta Square up here on your top left-hand corner. You can see pretty gloomy and nasty out there. Also on the right, we have Lake Lanier. It looks like we may have Lake Lanier in both of these shots, but just 2 vantage points of what we're seeing here in the metro and what we're looking into seeing today. It's kind of going to be that same story we've been told by our team of meteorologists. And if you have some things that you need to get done, I know the big question is, when do you get them done? If it's going to be nasty all day, is there any break in the day where we could get grocery shopping done? I've got to do some myself today. If we've got errands that you have to run, what's going to be the timing in that? Well, First Alert meteorologist Cutter Martin is here at the First Alert desk. And Cutter, people have a couple of things that maybe they need to get done. Is there any point in the day where maybe they need to try and get out the door? And what are those hours that they probably need to just stay on the inside?
Yeah, I would say our time of just drizzle is about to come to an end, and we're going to have a steadier rain, more impactful rain. It's going to be a little harder to get those plans in here over the next couple of hours. You can see that satellite and radar right now. Rain is widespread, not just in North Georgia, not just in Atlanta, but as Brooks said, this is an impactful storm system. You've been watching our ANF Atlanta News First Plus coverage all morning long. Travel delays both on the roads, up in the sky as this system plows through the eastern third or so of the United States. Keep in mind its journey began thousands of miles to our west, and you're taking a look at radar right now, what we have going on, and that is going to be a pretty widespread area of rain showers and thunderstorms embedded in there, especially down in South Georgia. Further to the north, you even notice some pink. That's ice, wintry mix, and some snow up into New York. So if holiday plans bring you up to the Big 95 corridor, you too are not going to be escaping the rain. You're going to be dealing with showers and some thunderstorms as well back home, though. Let's bring you to a closer look at Metro Atlanta. And again, we are tracking rain moving now deeper into the city. Here's the first batch of really steady rain and even some heavier downpours embedded in here. In fact, do notice that we have one downpour probably producing a little bit of lightning, though not detecting any at the moment. Moving kind of along that Douglas and Fulton County line, rain moving off to the north and to the east. So while it is steadily raining right now inside the perimeter, it is about to get heavier. In fact, it'll be pouring west wall of the perimeter within the next 15 to 20 minutes. And we're tracking rain moving generally from southwest to north and east. So all we have to do is look back south and west, back into Cleburne County, Alabama, Randolph County, and in Alabama. And you can see there is more rain, putting radar back in motion here. And we'll slow down the speed here so you can get a really good idea as to how rain is evolving and moving across the state, across North Georgia and the metro this morning. We have a round one of steady rain, embedded heavier rain moving in right now. And then behind that, more rain, kind of a fire hose of moisture, so to speak, moving from southwest to north and east back into the heart of the metro and the city of Atlanta. So if you were unable to get outside while we had that little bit of a break in the rain, over the past couple of hours, I think that the dry time, or I should say drier time, is beginning to come to an end. We certainly do have some wetter weather moving in, steadier rain moving in, and that is going to make it just a little bit harder to get the errands done today. So do keep that in mind. Certainly we are tracking rain moving through. That risk of some thunderstorms still there as well. We're going to walk you not only what is happening right now, but what is expected to occur over the next several hours. So again, we're going to be watching this pretty closely over the next 5 to 6 hours. Let's give you that hour-by-hour forecast now. And notice how temperatures due in large part to the clouds and the steady rain, not really warming all that much. It's Marietta behind us there, and we do have that first alert going on through the evening, and we're going to be dealing with that here over the next several hours. In fact, let's get a look at current temperatures right now. And do notice, as this graphic loads up here, taking just a moment, temperatures are coolest north and east. Basically, we have a wedge of cooler air filtering back into metro Atlanta. 53 incoming, 54 right now. Emory, that's going to be up in Gwinnett County, that particular campus. 51 in Beaufort, 58 though Smyrna, 63 Dallas, 62 in East Point. So temperatures trying to warm up across the metro from southwest to north and east. Though having a little bit of trouble doing just that with an east wind, trying to keep some of that cooler air locked in across the metro on through the afternoon. And again, you need to be alert to changing weather conditions with this first alert weather day continuing. First alert going through the afternoon on into the early evening hours, though in general that rain chance will really begin to wind down as you now look at your hour-by-hour forecast as we get into the later evening hours, especially right around sunset and afterward. But the prime time, afternoon drive, or maybe folks did have to go into work on this Tuesday, and today is the last day of school before a little holiday break for many across North Georgia. Many schools were in session for a point this week, and we are tracking conditions that'll make your day just a little bit gloomier, a little bit wetter, and probably add some delays to any of your traveling around metro Atlanta and in North Georgia. So make sure you have a way to be alerted to weather changes. First Alert Weather app, of course, is a great tool, and we're going to be asking you to download the First Alert Weather app, QR code upper right-hand corner of your screen. Scan that code, or of course, if you're streaming right now on another device, just search First Alert Weather or Atlanta News First in your app or Google Play Store. And when you do download the app, make sure those settings are correct to your location. On my app, I just hit Follow Me so that it knows where I am and knows where I am in relation to rain and storms moving through so that you can get the proper forecast, proper alerts. And on that note, sign up for those precipitation and lightning alerts. You can be alerted to rain getting heavier in your neighborhood or in your area, and also the potential for lightning approaching your area and your neighborhood. So hour-by-hour forecast, temperatures trying to warm up, but it may be a little bit of a struggle to get up to 66. We're going to try to get there, though, this afternoon. And it says the temperature warms a bit as that front begins to make its closest pass to and then eventually through North Georgia. It's going to be at that point that the risk of some spotty thunderstorms will be at its greatest across North Georgia and metro Atlanta. So we're going to be watching that potential here pretty closely over the next few hours. And again, want to thank you for joining me. I'm First Alert Meteorologist Cutter Martin here to give you an update on the forecast, streaming live, not just myself. First Alert Meteorologist Ella Dorsey, Courtney Jacobazzi, digital producer Maria Moreau here as well, running the day. We do have a lot of weather to talk about today, a First Alert weather day, a day in which you need to pay just a little closer attention to the weather. Not a day where there's widespread severe weather in the forecast locally, not a day where we are expecting flooding. Let's remember, we do desperately need the rain. This is a beneficial storm system in big part across North Georgia, but coming at a time that the weather is just not as favorable for the outdoor travel across North Georgia and metro Atlanta. So we're going to be looking at conditions going downhill already at the airport, starting to see conditions deteriorate. And it does look like we're going to be dealing with this here for the next several hours. Unfortunately there, Maria, we're tracking this storm system moving through. And you've been covering this all morning, and I think you can give greater context to the national impact on a busy travel day that this storm system appears to be having.
Yeah, Cutter, certainly. I mean, just this morning, even at the start of this weather pattern, our team of meteorologists, Courtney and Ella, hard at work on Atlanta News First, telling us about traffic on the road. Yeah. And for a lot of travelers that are planning, to make their way out for Thanksgiving, for the long holiday weekend, this is the information they're going to need to know. So that's why, we all got together and we were like, we want to hop on here for our YouTube Live audience that's been asking questions in the chat. For Roku, Apple, Amazon Fire TV users to just get extended information and hopefully just to explain the situation as it is. I mean, you can see the weather pattern just by looking outside, but understanding it really takes a hard-working team of meteorologists. So, to the rest of the First Alert team that's going to be hard at work today, thank you for all of us and making sure that our holiday plans don't get ruined.
I can't take all the credit there, of course. We're just here to keep folks covered. So many folks as well, a pretty impactful storm system across the United States, but also while we're streaming as well, so many folks away from the TV and maybe not able to watch their normal newscast because it is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Some are already celebrating with friends, family, and loved ones, or they're maybe prepping in the kitchen and just away from the TV. This way, you can just have that streaming device right next to you. Get a check of the forecast as hopefully you're inside enjoying the comfortability and the dryness, we'll say, of your own home underneath your own roof. Maria, I know you were with Joy earlier as well. Storm system impacting the Northeast, and they're dealing with some ice and snow. And it'd be interesting to see today also. I think a big point here is roads are wet. But sometimes a storm system with a reach like this one, it may be impacting the big Northeast hubs flight-wise, and even though weather could be improving here, we still have some rain and storms to get through, but we could see some of those trickle-down delays here at our very own Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport as well.
Yeah, Cutter, actually, I'm going to prove to people, because some were asking if this is a replay of a newscast, that we are live, and I'm going to switch places with you so I can show the people some pictures that we're seeing. We have our live First Alert car on the road, really tracking the road conditions here. So I'm going to hop into your box, and then we are going to show the people some of this. All right, and here in just a moment, you'll see from our very own Izmir Payton, who has been out on the roads pretty much all day, just giving us a look at the conditions. This is going to be really important for all you travelers out there who are going to start hitting your routes, whether you're leaving the state to go see family, whether you're making your way down to the airport. Speaking of which, this is a look at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. We are monitoring any flight delays and bringing that to you on AtlantaNewsFirst.com and the Atlanta News First app. But the roadways, a lot of people are going to start between today and tomorrow hitting the road. You're going to see some holiday traffic. This is something that officials were talking about just last week, that they are expecting this to be one of the busiest holidays for travel of the year. And with Atlanta traffic, you already know the game with that. So you want to leave early. You want to make sure that you're prepared for weather, in this case, for today, for rain and wind on the roadways. And we are going to continue to monitor some of those storm systems that Cutter was mentioning. I want to take you through our website here on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. So if you haven't had a chance to look through, this is where we are keeping you updated on all of your latest weather information. Again, with First Alert weather days, we take those very seriously, and we try to stay on top of getting you the latest information and what you need to know, what's impacting your community. Our First Alert weather app is tailored to where you are. So it will tell you when a lightning bolt has been detected. It will tell you the hour-by-hour forecast specifically for where you are. So if you're thinking, I don't live in Metro Atlanta, maybe you live outside of the perimeter a bit, or in other parts of the metro, we still have you covered. If you are in our coverage area, we are bringing you those hour-by-hour forecasts. But for the central Atlanta area, especially, you want to monitor through our app and website and the First Alert weather app, and you can see some of those storms we're going to start to see roll in. Widespread rain is in the forecast. If you were planning on figuring out when you're going to walk your dog, it's only going to get worse from here on out rain-wise, so just make sure that you are prepared and you have your alerts on with both of our apps so that you can monitor those. I want to take you back out to this article here, so you can see weather impacts that we're starting to see at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. We also tracked some traffic alerts for you on the roadways. So a lot of good information for you. You see right here the overturned tractor trailer from this morning, and that is quite the image. Cutter, I know that you were monitoring some traffic through your radar systems.
Yeah.
Anything to report?
Nothing too crazy out there, but personal experience today. It's one of those kind of mid to late fall storm systems where we had wind last night, even ahead of the rain. Everyone's leaves are down, and then we had the rain, so roads are actually extra slick out there. Especially think about our north side neighborhoods, Buckhead, Tuxedo Park, into like the West Highlands area. A lot of trees and a lot of densely populated areas and neighborhoods, and the leaves are now on the roads. We've added moisture onto that, so I myself did a little bit of hydroplaning there, even on the surface street. So it's minor, we deal with it this time of year, but just something extra to keep in mind if you are, especially maybe commuting home this evening and you have a little extra rush in your system trying to get home on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Just keep in mind, patience is key here. Safety is key. Just because it's the Tuesday before a holiday, we don't want anyone to rush and take any, unnecessary risk on the roads this afternoon. But it's been good news for the most part. Relatively low volume, and of course, low volume, fewer cars on the roads, less likely, at least, not impossible, but less likely to have any major issues and crashes there on the roadway. So far, nothing too crazy here locally, but it is early. The weather is going to go downhill. You see the wiper speeds there in just a moment. Now that we're back on the Coolray First Alert tracker on a low speed, but we were tracking Maria. Rain moving in from the southwest side, steadier rain, the heaviest rain of the day. And it is moving in from the south and west, so it won't be too long before I think folks are really slowing it down, and maybe the roads do get a little bit dicier out there heading into the PM rush.
Yeah, certainly. I'm seeing, some people checking in both on Google through our apps to see if their flights are going to be impacted. That is a valid question when you take a look outside. I want to take you out to our Madeline Montgomery, who's been at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport throughout the morning, and she will bring us a live report at noon. But let's get out to a story on the holiday travel impacts that we're seeing.
Despite the bad weather, thankfully things aren't looking too bad. When you look at the flight board, really a whole lot of on times. There are delays in the double digits, but they are nothing too dramatic out here. Pretty standard, honestly, for a normal travel day. And there are a whole lot of people really hoping for smooth sailing here at Hartsfield-Jackson. Airport officials estimating 3.6 million people flying through here during this holiday period, with TSA officials saying they believe they'll be screening 1.1 million passengers flying out of Atlanta. Now, all of those folks have dangerous weather to worry about. Our meteorologists predicting storms rolling through the Gulf Coast and south with threatening damaging winds, hail, and possible tornadoes. And then there's a winter blast of rain and sleet that could disrupt air travel in the Northeast late tonight and into tomorrow. The Department of Transportation saying that they've been working closely with airlines to make sure we don't see mass cancellations like we did last December.
While we can't control the weather, we will also be using every tool at our disposal to keep cancellations and delays as low as possible. If your flight gets canceled or significantly delayed for any reason, I want the traveling public to know that you are entitled to a full cash refund if you choose to take that refund rather than to rebook it.
Just a heads up, tomorrow and then this Sunday are being estimated to be the most busy travel days here at the airport. Reporting at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, I'm Madeline Montgomery, Atlanta News First.
Yeah, and speaking of Madeline Montgomery, again, we told you that she is at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. She's going to be joining us live here in the next 20 minutes with a report that you can count on if you are a flyer this holiday season. It doesn't have to necessarily be on Thanksgiving. Some of you are taking advantage of the long weekend and leaving on Friday or on Saturday. We want to keep you covered on what you can track and what we're tracking ourselves. Taking you back out to Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, it is quite gloomy, as you can see, but we can see a few planes still making their way. We are talking to airport officials. We are tracking radar, of course, to see exactly what the flight delay situation is going to be. Again, as we progress throughout today, it is expected that rain will increase. Those heavy downpours, you're going to start to see those, and definitely you're going to want to be indoors. So I would plan for a cozy day inside. For now, I want to take you back out to First Alert meteorologist Cutter Martin here. If I can find my 2 box, give me a second. We're working with new technology. I'll have Cutter here with me momentarily.
The
there we go.
The magic is doing a very good job this morning.
Yes.
Everything flows as smoothly as possible. Maria, something I just thought of, and I was speaking with Jason, kind of the digital boss there. We have a lot of information linked online. So if you are away from the TV, you can't stay and watch the newscast, reminder you can get the forecast in the First Alert weather app and be alerted to heavier rain approaching your area, your community, your neighborhood, especially some of this heavier rain moves in. And also be alerted to any lightning. We do have a few storms embedded within the rain. And we have also FlightAware's misery map linked at atlantanewsfirst.com, and we'll pull that up here for you over the next a couple of minutes. We'll find where it is linked online. It is at Atlanta News First on the news page in one of our travel stories. And even, Maria, if you just want to come out on cam, I can just kind of show people what's going on out there, because despite this storm moving through, I'm seeing more green than red on the misery map. And again, this is just my device, probably a little hard to we'll go underneath there, a little hard to see, but this is a good resource, and it is linked at atlantanewsfirst.com.
Cutter, I do apologize. I had you muted there. If you could,
it's okay. Yeah, basically, we're just we're looking at the misery map here on FlightAware, and I pulled into KATL. Of course, that's Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, and you see more green than red. So there are some delays right now. Looking like the biggest delay is leaving Atlanta, flying to Miami into MIA. There is a delay going up to ORD. That's going to be Midway in Chicago, the Charlotte airport as well, some delays, DC, New York, even Boston, a lesser delay but still there. And you can see it's because that storm system moving through much of the eastern United States, in addition to the inclement weather, the rain, and up there, interior Northeast, you're dealing with a little bit of snow and ice as well. So we have all of that information. Misery map is a really good way to visualize it from FlightAware.com, and that is linked. And our travel story that's live right now at atlantanewsfirst.com, right there on the homepage, Maria.
And I was able to pull up the FlightAware website, so you can see right there by airline, by origin, airport, and by destination. If you click Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, you can see that right at the top. So pretty straightforward for you to find, navigate through. Again, great resource available on atlantanewsfirst.com. We have a link under our weather impact, holiday impact article. So it's pretty straightforward, telling you everything you need to know, whether you are flying, whether you are hitting the road by car, what have you. We have all of that information for you on atlantanewsfirst.com. I want to take a moment, Cutter, I don't know how much you've been following the weather pattern on a national level. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, this isn't atypical this time of year. We have a strong front moving through, so it's going to trend cooler and drier. A little bit clearer. We're going to fight the clouds this week, and in reality, the storm Texas became severe, producing this damage that you are now seeing in front of you. A lot of tree damage, straight line winds, also the possibility of tornadoes. And you know how it was kind of cool yesterday? That breeze was cool, Maria. Mm-hmm. And certainly if you live on the north side of town, northeast side of town right now, you're feeling the chilly air. It's that cool air that is saving us from a greater severe threat. The severe threat today locally, it's not zero, but it is much lower than areas to our west. Certainly we're going to be watching that potential for a few thunderstorms, but the greatest potential for isolated severe weather south of Atlanta, southeast of Atlanta as we get into streaming, Roku, Amazon Fire, atlantanewsfirst.com. The First Alert Weather app, Atlanta News First app, YouTube is that single place. If you go to the Atlanta News First account, that you can comment and be a part of the conversation, ask your questions about specific flights. Again, we have a whole computer loads worth of data here to analyze for you and answer any travel questions that you may have, and of course give you a check of that First Alert forecast.
Now, I do have a question, and
Go
one
ahead.
that the people are probably dying to know. You got any Thanksgiving plans, holiday plans?
Oh, do I? Here with you all. No, Thursday, Friday, we have our late newscast, 11 p.m., and also we have some really exciting weather specials, also some investigative specials airing Thursday and Friday across Atlanta News First and on Peachtree TV, Atlanta CW affiliate. We'll be airing it there. So I'm going to be sitting here in-house, probably eating some good food, watching those specials, and getting the forecast ready for you on the late news. And thankfully, Maria, by then, a little bit better, and it was looking like late Thanksgiving into Friday, this kind of second storm system was going to move through, and we were going to have another period of widespread rain, but recent data trending away from that. So Black Friday shopping right now may not be the best, may not be sunny, but it is looking a little bit less wet Black Friday, and then we'll have to watch next week, kind of a very classic pattern. Not to get too sciencey here, but basically, you have your dip in the jet stream, and we keep having energy hanging back over Texas, and little pieces of it are kind of shooting off from that main storm system and giving us opportunity after opportunity of rain. which we desperately need. It's just a timing thing here. Tuesday's a big travel day, obviously, and then Thanksgiving and Black Friday, very important for outdoor plants as well.
Yeah, Cutter, you mentioned the rain being, although inconvenient with travel, with holiday around the corner, but it's something that we need because we have been in an extensive period of drought. And I know you and the First Alert Weather team have been covering that a lot on air and online.
Yeah, and in fact, I was live at a fire up in Walker County, extreme northwest Georgia, the Georgia 157 Walker County fire. Georgia 157 being the highway it was closest to, burned more than 700 acres. It did threaten a couple structures, none burned, no one injured. Georgia Forestry and local fire departments up there worked very hard to put it out, but they really got no help from Mother Nature through the duration of that fire, and now they're getting widespread rain. In fact, we can kind of look at that area and also use this as an opportunity to show you the First Alert Weather app, how it is used, how you can use it, and how it can be of most value to you. Reminder, it is a free app. That's going to be your home screen right there, and current conditions video right at the top of the app. That was recorded outside of a newscast and put in there. So it's not just your normal forecast that you see on TV. We actually take a deeper dive and give you some extra bits of information that can help you make plans. And then we have radar right now. I'm going to switch over. It's pretty user-friendly. Again, I'm have it on current temperatures. That was the last social media post I did. So you can see lots of green there, cooler on the north side. And then we're going over to radar now, and you can see all the green, the yellows, and in this case, some red, some steady rain. In fact, I'm going to look behind me. See the rain falling outside here at Atlanta News First in West Midtown. Some steady rain, at times heavy rain. And this extends, all the way back to Birmingham and into I-65 corridor, the I-65 corridor into Alabama. So there's the big picture that Maria brought up for you. We still do have some rain and a few storms to get through before the much drier weather filters back in.
Yeah, and as we talk about this system on a national level, I want to take you out a little bit to our sister stations and national news partners with a look at what's going on weather-wise over there.
Well, it's the calm before the storm of Thanksgiving travel here at Newark Airport, but TSA expects this to be the busiest travel season they have ever seen. AAA predicts 55.4 million Americans will travel overall this holiday season. That's a more than 2% increase from last year. Many of those moving by plane. TSA expects to screen more than 30 million travelers over a 12-day period. Several airlines, including United, are beefing up staff this week, taking extra precautions with bad weather possibly on the horizon. We spoke to travelers who tried to beat the rush by heading out today.
The drive out of New York wasn't great, but once we got to Jersey, it was fine.
No problems whatsoever. It was a great trip, zero stress.
Well, tomorrow and Wednesday are expected to be the busiest travel days ahead of Thanksgiving, but of course experts say nothing beats Sunday when everyone's trying to make it home.
Travelers should be checking with their airline directly for the most up-to-date information about their flights.
Solid advice whenever you're flying, but even more important this week. Severe weather across large parts of the U.S. threaten to snarl holiday travel plans. Powerful rainstorms over areas of the central U.S. are rolling toward the Midwest, and thunderstorms over parts of the Gulf and southern regions could bring tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail throughout Monday night. To navigate the impact on air travelers, the National Weather Service is positioning meteorologists at 22 FAA centers.
They provide down-to-the-minute weather predictions for exact arrival and departure routes in the busiest parts of the U.S. airspace.
The Department of Transportation says it's been working closely with airlines to ease the cost of trip delays on travelers.
Now, almost all of them guarantee hotels and ground transportation, and all of them guarantee covering meals. If your flight gets canceled or significantly delayed for any reason, I want the traveling public to know that you are entitled to a full cash refund if you choose to take that refund rather than a rebooking.
And that's good news, given forecasters predict by Tuesday, rain and snow could be hampering air and highway travel across large parts of the Midwest, New England, and East Coast, from D.C. to Atlanta.
We will be using every tool at our disposal to keep cancellations and delays as low as possible.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
And there's that national map for you, kind of showing you the weather system. I'm going to pull up your graphics here, Cutter, so you could see the full, hour by hour forecast. You guys do such a great job of predicting weather with enough time that we can all digest it and respond and make our plans accordingly. So here we're looking at starting at 11 a.m. and moving into the afternoon and evening.
Yeah, notice how that rain chance, it actually increases going into the middle of the middle of the afternoon. We're going to see that chance increase here over the next few hours. You probably have noticed if you live inside the perimeter or closer to the city of Atlanta that sure enough, we're seeing more active weather move into the city. After a bit of a break, we are now seeing steadier rain work its way back into North Georgia and Metro Atlanta, and it's the steady rain combined with the excess amount of people on the roads that has us declaring today, of course, a first alert weather day. That hour-by-hour forecast has that first alert going on through the afternoon into early evening.
Yeah, and I just want to say, something about the First Alert weather app. I personally, as an app user, as a weather app user, I've had the generic ones that come with your phone, but
tisk.
Yeah, I know, but this one just feels more personal. It's customized to where you are. It is easy enough to where I'm not having to Google terminology. I mean, it's really user friendly. It's interactive, and any question that I can come up with, it's already there.
Well, I wish we had more to do with that, but in reality, it's just a great product, a great thing in-house that we do, and we have the ability to meet you wherever you are, whether that be in North Georgia. A lot of people use the app also to check that forecast. For traveling, remember, the First Alert Weather app here at Atlanta News First, it will still work. It'll still give you a forecast wherever you are going in the United States, and in many cases even beyond that. You just have to set that location setting to follow me. That way you can always be in tune with the forecast. You can also watch our live streams like we're doing right now on ANF+. They're in the app and in the Atlanta News First app, just making sure that you are aware. Maybe this is the first time you ever watched us streaming, joining us here live. A little different than a normal newscast. Here, Maria and I just chatting, talking weather on a Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and you can watch this conversation no matter who's up here giving you the forecast there in the First Alert Weather app and in the Atlanta News First app. So, Maria, good news for folks that maybe have big dinner plans with family coming into town. Rain will eventually subside, and it does look like we will improve this evening. Today, a First Alert Weather day with the need to be alert through early evening. But notice we're going to start to drop that rain chance 6-7 p.m. and cooler. The wind switches to the west and drier as we get into late evening overnight tonight, though we will keep some of the gloom. Still, in general, a better period, I should say, this evening versus what we've been dealing with this morning and now about to head into the afternoon.
And Cutter, I got a little excited as you were talking because we did just get a YouTube comment for us. Elias, I apologize if I'm butchering your name, wanted to ask us to remind people to please have your headlights on in the rain.
It's funny that Elias brings that up because literally I was on 14th Street approaching Peachtree and, kind of by Colony Square if you're familiar with Midtown, and there was a car that had not their hazards, but, well, yeah, they had their hazards on. They were pulled over, maybe someone doing Uber Eats or something like that, and having to go around them. And then I noticed it was hard to see them as it's raining to see if I can get back into the lane that they were blocking because their headlights weren't on. It's simple stuff, but sometimes it's really simple things that can cause problems for folks out there on the roadways. Thankfully, we're not dealing with blinding rain. We're not dealing with any severe weather at the moment, but rain is now heavier. It is steadier. Watching the Atlanta News First windows behind me. Outside right now here across the core of the metro. So normal safety stuff. Make sure your headlights are on. Cool Ray First Alert trackers out and about, and notice there's a little more rain on the windshield than the last check. So it's a normal rainy day. Just happened to be Murphy's Law, I guess, right? On the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, a day that sees some of the highest numbers of road travel. But also some of our coverage that we've done here. Madeline Montgomery did a story from the airport last week talking about how flights, it used to be everyone crammed in on the 1 or 2 days, within the week of Thanksgiving, but now due to working from home policies and different PTO policies from COVID, people have more opportunity to leave and give themselves more time to reach their destination. So I will say driving in here, traffic was a little better than I thought it was going to be. Weather just as inclement as forecast, but travel and roadway conditions actually a little bit better. And I think that's because folks left earlier. I noticed last Friday, I was up in Woodstock for a live shot at the Magic of Lights, and traffic that day was insane, the Friday before Thanksgiving. And then this weekend, it was a little more congested than normal. And then today, Tuesday, maybe folks got the first alert and just were already planning to leave early, noticing roadway conditions just a little bit better out there as far as the number of vehicles they're out on the roadway this afternoon.
Yeah, certainly. And hey, it's not just the cars. We're talking flight impacts as well. But also, Atlanta is a pedestrian-friendly city, or aspiring to be one. And so we have to talk about the bicyclists and the people that are crossing the roadways. They are also impacted by weather. And whether you're a motorist or a pedestrian, you want to make sure you're preparing yourself. Any tips on how pedestrians can prepare themselves in these types of weather events?
Well, I would just say don't walk. Don't take the bike out. If you can, take the car or just stay at home. I mean, if you have to be biking in this kind of weather, it's gross. It's nasty. I feel bad for you. But in general, wear something that's reflective, that can pick up. Hopefully people have their headlights on, but with reduced visibility, making sure that you stand out as much as possible. And of course, it's Atlanta, it's Georgia. We're used to rain, especially this time of year when we do get these rainy days. But today it's a little extra congested, though looking a little better than I thought it was going to be. And we happen to have widespread rainfall across North Georgia and Metro Atlanta. So my true suggestion, if at all possible, don't. The weather will be better tomorrow if you're trying to get that ride in, or maybe you're trying to earn some extra cash, leading to the holiday period going to December. A lot of Uber Eats folks and DoorDash, they use bicycles, especially in this part of town. Ponce Highland, Midtown, filled with folks. They have those hot, warm packs on the back of their bikes. Today, not the day to do that. If you can, wait till tomorrow. Thursday better, maybe some showers Friday, but I would just postpone any sort of activities like that. But it doesn't necessarily take a meteorologist and a digital reporter to have to remind you this. You should know it, but it's basic stuff, but it still stands, and that is just being as safe as possible, making sure that you stick out as much as possible as someone that may be on a bike or walking, and then for folks that are on the roadways, being more vigilant than normal, hence the first alert, letting you know that today you just need to pay a little extra attention to what's going on around you, because in large part due to the weather.
And in just a few minutes, we'll be joined by our very own Madeline Montgomery, Atlanta News First reporter, who has been out at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport throughout the morning, tracking those holiday impacts, because for the flyers out there, I mean, that is what they want to know. They really are following along and trying to see, am I going to expect some weather delays? My flight might not be delayed now, but what do I need to know about the weather ahead? As far as the weather pattern, I mean, it looks like to me this is encompassing most of Metro Atlanta.
Yeah, this is one of those days where it's not, a downpour in one neighborhood and sunny in the next in August. It's not that setup. It is simply widespread rain. At times it will be heavy, especially now as we get into the early afternoon hours. And speaking of flights, and Madeline might be able to offer more insight to this, but a lot of folks opt to either Uber, and if they don't Uber, they don't park, on the airport site. They use one of those third-party apps. The Parking Spot is one that I have used, and their site is close to Hartsfield-Jackson, right off property on Camp Creek Parkway, but you still have to take a shuttle, walk to the shuttle first to get to the airport. So if you are flying out this afternoon, we're letting you know the rain will continue. Bring the umbrella or something, maybe a rain jacket, because it's going to be harder to get the umbrella, through TSA and on your flight. But just be aware, if you are flying out today and you're not Ubering, using one of those third-party sites to park before taking the flight, you're going to be getting rained on, walking to the bus, and then from the bus back into the airport if you're not underneath, one of these covered areas. So just something extra to kind of be aware of. No one wants to hop on a 4-hour flight soaked, right?
No, they do not.
Not
they
fun.
do not.
Not fun.
Cutter, thank you so much for joining me. We are going to take you back out to our national news team, take a look at what the weather is like out there, and then our very own Madeline Montgomery will join us right here on Atlanta News First Plus with your latest look live at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport.
Travelers should be checking with their airline directly for the most up-to-date information about their flights.
Solid advice whenever you're flying, but even more important this week. Severe weather across large parts of the U.S. threaten to snarl holiday travel plans. Powerful rainstorms over areas of the central U.S. are rolling toward the Midwest, and thunderstorms over parts of the Gulf and southern regions could bring tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail throughout Monday night. To navigate the impact on air travelers, the National Weather Service is positioning meteorologists at 22 FAA centers.
They provide down-to-the-minute weather predictions for exact arrival and departure routes in the busiest parts of the U.S. airspace.
The Department of Transportation says it's been working closely with airlines to ease the cost of trip delays on travelers.
Now, almost all of them guarantee hotels and ground transportation, and all of them guarantee covering meals. If your flight gets canceled or significantly delayed for any reason, I want the traveling public to know that you are entitled to a full cash refund if you choose to take that refund rather than a rebooking.
And that's good news, given forecasters predict by Tuesday, rain and snow could be hampering air and highway travel across large parts of the Midwest, New England, and East Coast, from D.C. to Atlanta.
We will be using every tool at our disposal to keep cancellations and delays as low as possible.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Rather than us be the
All right, and I do have our Madeline Montgomery here with us. Just want to troubleshoot. Madeline, can you hear me?
Hey, I hear you.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, we know you've been out at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. A lot of interest from our digital streamers on what it's like over there. What can you tell us?
I know a lot of people have been really worried about what the holiday travel situation is going to be like. So I have some good news for you guys, and it's that it's really not that crazy. It's more busy than it usually would be on a Tuesday, but it's not so bad. So photojournalist Marcus is going to pan off. You can see there's a bit of a line for the check-ins over here for Southwest. There's a bit of a line for people who are checking bags, checking in, and we've seen a lot of redirection by airport staff to make sure that they're spreading out where people are going as far as with the checkpoints. So they have people going to the north checkpoint, main checkpoint, as well as even going downstairs to the general security screening that they have downstairs, which is not usually used for most people, but they're just rerouting to make sure that everything is flowing smoothly. When we were here last week for a news presser, they actually were saying that they were wanting to make sure that for general, you were only waiting about 30 minutes, and then if you have TSA pre-check or clear, you're only waiting about 10 minutes. And so really not too busy right now. Earlier, there were longer lines and it kind of cleared out a bit. Now it's getting busy again during the lunch rush, and we are expecting it to be busier again in the evenings. And another thing, of course, a lot of people are thinking about is this bad weather we're seeing. It's raining here, but then across the country, it's bad weather as far as there could be tornadoes in the south. There could be hail, really strong winds in the Gulf Coast region, and then in the Northeast tonight. And then tomorrow, there's going to be some winter weather as far as sleet and some rain, and so that could impact flights. So far, there are close to 130 delays here, and there are no cancellations, so that's good news. So if you are flying out, it is a pretty good deal. You shouldn't have to worry about your flights. The best way to check, they of course on the boards are trying to update if things are on time or not, but the best way to check is through your airline's app. That's going to have the most accurate time as far as whether or not your flight is going to be taking off on time. And it's a whole lot of people who are going to be traveling. So today it's not as crazy. Tomorrow and Sunday are expected to be the busiest travel days here at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. So TSA expecting to screen 1.1 million people. So 1.1 million people flying out of Atlanta, and then 3.6 million people are expected to be passing through the airport. Maybe they have a connecting flight, maybe they're flying into Hartsfield-Jackson in the next 15 days. And they said that this Thanksgiving travel period started last Friday, and then it's lasting through Tuesday. And something interesting is the fact that TSA is saying that with this travel period, usually for Thanksgiving, they say that the travel period is only about a week, but now so many people work online that how it's lasting this time is that people can travel at a more flexible pace, and so more people are traveling kind of when they want. So it's a longer travel period that they're seeing. And again, just so many people. They're seeing record-breaking numbers already across the country, more than pre-pandemic numbers. And so we're thinking it's going to be a pretty exciting time as far as holiday travel. And of course, we're also hoping that it's not as chaotic as last year. If y'all will recall, there was a huge shutdown situation in December, specifically with Southwest Airlines. There were really bad storms out west over in Denver that ended up having thousands of flights canceled. And so the Department of Transportation says that they've been working diligently to make sure that a similar situation does not happen this time. So again, it is busier than you'd see on a Tuesday, but it's really not chaotic. They know what they're doing here. They were anticipating the crowds. Airport staff saying that they made sure to go ahead, hire extra people to help at baggage claim, to help at check-in, to help with wheelchairs, to help with TSA screening, so that they have a lot of hands on deck so that things are running smoothly, and they're redirecting people to checkpoints to make sure that the checkpoints aren't taking too long so you can go ahead and get to your gate. So things just moving along well. And then the number of delays keeps moving up as the weather situation does get worse throughout the country. We're going to keep you updated on that. I'm going to be reporting at about 12:15 on Atlanta News First, and then my colleague Rachel Aragon is actually going to have a story on this later today in the 5 and 6 o'clock hours. So once the weather's really picking up, she'll be able to give you the numbers for later in the evening. But that's the situation we are seeing out here. And again, we're going to be on Atlanta News First at 12:15.
Madeline, by the way, if you didn't know, Madeline Montgomery is our very own honorary, unofficial airport reporter. She covers all of the airport chaos that happens, all of the weather impacts, and you do such a phenomenal job. I'm sure people have started recognizing you around Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport.
I do get the employee discount here, and I'm very proud of that, so thank you. And I
Yes.
have been giving people directions of like where they need to go in between my live shots because I know where to go. I'm here all the time. So when I tell you guys it's not too bad, I mean it, and I've seen it when it is really hectic out here. So if you are stressed, I promise it won't be so bad. Just make sure you're following the advice of getting here several hours early and just knowing where you're going, what you're doing.
And Madeline, I want to ask you one final question. You know, as you're talking to people and keeping up with their plans, do you have any holiday plans of your own?
I am going to stick to the driving method. So on Thanksgiving Day, I'm going to stay in town, see my grandparents in Ackworth. And from what I saw with AAA, they say Thursday, actual Thanksgiving holiday, is the best day to drive. But then I am going to be driving over to Alabama to celebrate my grandmother's 90th birthday, big deal. And then driving back on Sunday, which I think is the worst day to drive back. So we'll see how that goes.
We wish you the best of luck. My hellos to your family. Thank you so much for bringing us our latest flight information out of Hartsfield. Again, stay tuned to Madeline's report at 12:15. We'll have that for you. All right, I want to take you back out here to a look at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. As you can see, the weather pattern here starting to look gloomy, and it is going to stay like that for a good bit of today. You know, as we continue to monitor the weather, I want to bring you to our website here, Atlanta News First. This is where you can really see all of the holiday travel impacts that we're following. And a great tool we have linked here is none other than the FlightAware website. And that tracks live airline flight delays, cancellations, all of that good stuff. So you can see if you scroll down here, information specifically about Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. Excuse me, I did not have that in the correct window. There you go. So from our website, AtlantaNewsFirst.com. You could see that FlightAware link, and that will take you directly to Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport information. You can see the delays, cancellations, and other impacts, and they have it written out in this graph for you, so you could really see compare it to other airports and track specifically, and from there see if your flight is among the list on there. I do have our meteorologist Cutter Martin here still with us. Cutter, you're going to be heading out there into the elements. What can we expect from you later on today?
Yeah, we're just going to hit the roads in the First Alert Cool Ray First Alert Road Tracker this afternoon. Just give people hopefully good news. Again, we're not just out in the tracker when it's bad, but also letting you know just whatever we're seeing. And I think there's going to be a lot of wet roadways out there. I think that there will be a lot of windshield wipers and a lot of annoyed folks with the rain, but rain is a good thing. We do need the rain, and I think it's just a story of that. It's an inconvenience today. We're going to make sure we're there for you just in case anything does happen on the roads more significant this afternoon and early in the evening. And then as we go through the early evening hours, as the sun begins to set, we do expect the weather to improve. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Valdez in-house, also with First Alert Meteorologist Patrick Peed. They're going to be handling the forecast, tracking any storms that may be moving through, and then I'll be on the roads letting you know what is actually happening, what the rain to this point has done so far. And fingers crossed, we won't see anything too massively bad out there.
Yeah, that we can hope, right? You know, as a meteorologist and a member of the largest team of meteorologists in the Southeast, I wanted to toot our horn there. Any final thoughts, words of advice for everyone as they're headed into today and the holiday weekend?
Yeah, I just want to let you know that First Alert Weather Day just means that we're here to give you a little extra information. Sometimes that means the weather is bad. The weather may be dangerous even. In today's case, it is the unfortunate timing, the meeting of two foes, and that is busy holiday travel and widespread rain and thunderstorms that may lead to some delays. That's why we're giving you more information. We're across more platforms platforms than on a sunny, calm, non-travel infused day. So live outside right now, again, Hartsfield-Jackson, Atlanta International Airport. Tarmac is wet. Delays, not terrible, but they are reporting some delays there, not just at Hartsfield-Jackson, but also over in Charlotte. Midway reporting delays. Miami, MIA also reporting delays. Much of the East Coast back into kind of the eastern third of the central United States. There are some flight delays, likely due to weather. And remember, the weather could be bad in another part of the country. Even if the weather's improving here, we could still be dealing with some flight delays, nothing too unusual here. But today, a first alert weather day, just here to give you more information on an inclement weather day, not necessarily a dangerous weather day, just because of what you see on the screen right now from the Coolray First Alert Tracker. A lot of folks on the roads, probably more this afternoon. And now that we're heading into the afternoon, not just more folks on the roads, but also some of the heaviest rain of this event now spreading into metro Atlanta and North Georgia. So keep it slow, keep it safe out there, folks. You know the drill. You should know how to drive in the rain. And I think that we'll be able to get through that just fine. Just pack some extra time into that routine this evening. And be aware, if you have any pre-holiday errands you need to run, go into the store, anything last minute. Make sure that you're prepared for rain. And just enjoy it for what it is, right? It's the holiday season. You can go home, hot chocolate, hear the raindrops, maybe put on some holiday music, prep some of the food that you're going to be putting in the oven on Thursday and get that going today. And that's the positive part of it, right? We're not dealing with widespread severe weather locally, although there could be a strong storm or two, mainly south this afternoon. We're not dealing with snow and ice locally. We're dealing with inclement weather, rainy weather, but we still want to make sure we're here on all platforms to keep you updated. And First Alert Chief Meteorologist will have that full forecast coming up in really a minute and a half on Atlanta News First at noon.
Yeah, if you are watching right now on Roku TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV, we are in a lot of places, guys. Make sure that you are keeping that TV on. We are going to have your latest look at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, latest look at the roads, and live team coverage for you in our new newscast, and then headed into the afternoon and evening as this weather gets a little bit uglier. We're going to be there for you with our team of meteorologists hard at work. Cutter, I know you're going to be joining us on Atlanta News First in the afternoon newscast, so we'll make sure to tune in and watch you there and get the latest information. But easiest way in the meantime is to download the First Alert Weather app and the Atlanta News First app for all of your weather updates, power outages, all of that good stuff. We're going to be tracking that for you and letting you know in case you are in the impacted zone. And a reminder, even back to social media here, all meteorologists, all platforms, if you have a specific question that you feel maybe we have not addressed or that you just need some clarification on, give us a holler on social media, all platforms there to answer any questions that are asked. And, of course, you can get the forecast in the First Alert Weather app outside of news time as well. Make it a great, warm, safe day.